Today I'm going to be taking care of something on the 2020 AT4 that has bugged me ever since I bought the truck just a little bit over a year ago. And that's the side mirrors that are mounted onto the doors. Now, I get it, most everybody loves the look of big giant tow mirrors, and a lot of guys, even with half tons, are swapping to the big massive mirrors, even though they may not really be necessary. And normally, I do like the look of a tow mirror, but on the 2020s, I honestly can't stand the looks. Now, normally on most pickup trucks, the mirrors are mounted up here, kind of in this little small triangle in front of the glass. But on the 2020s, they mounted everything down here onto the door. Now, that's not a huge deal, and it kind of reminds me of the old square body trucks, but just the proportions of the mirror, to me, don't really match with the proportions of the side of the truck. I mean, they just kind of stick out, and like I said, to me, they don't look that good. Now, they do have a lot of nice features that make them, well, really user-friendly, I guess, if you call it. They've got some nice orange LEDs that come on here at nighttime when the marker lamps are on. They have some really bright white LEDs up front, kind of for work lamps. And then along the back here, they have two more LEDs for when you have the cargo lamps on, and then they get the two different mirrors. Now, they do make it really, really easy to see behind you when you're backing up. But another complaint that I have about the mirrors is they make a really massive blind spot when you're looking forward. Like, let's say you're sitting at a four-way stop sign and you're looking off to the left. Well, you can actually hide a small car completely behind the blind spot that's with these big, massive mirrors. So I want to swap to something that's just a little bit smaller and to me will look a whole lot better. So let me show you what I found. Whenever I bought the truck, I actually went to the dealership parts department. I just kind of asked what it would cost to get an equivalent set of half-ton GMC door mirrors just to kind of swap them over. Now, there are two problems with that. Number one, the price. I think they quoted me almost $1,000 a mirror, which is quite a bit. I mean, I know that's what stuff goes for, but I didn't want to spend $2,000 on mirrors. And number two, on a GMC half-ton, the side of the truck is just a little bit different. They have a style line that kind of curves down, and I think the mirror is shaped just a little bit differently. So I knew half-ton GMC mirrors weren't going to be, in my opinion, they weren't going to look right, and I didn't know if they would even fit. Now, I was on the 2020 2500 HD Duramax owners group, or whatever you want to call it, on Facebook, and I saw on there a guy actually was selling some door mirrors from a 2500 HD Chevy truck. Now, this was a base model because most of the time the upper end models, they do come with those big massive tow mirrors that I'm trying to get rid of. Like I said, they were from a Chevy and they were a base model, so there's a lot of features that they don't have that my tow mirrors do, but they were a lot more affordable than, you know, $2,000 for a set of like Denali or AT4 half-ton mirrors. And this is what they look like. Kind of just your basic standard run-of-the-mill door mirror. They bolt into the door the same exact way with 4 bolts. They've got the same connection. Now, the one thing that I had to make sure it had is the temperature sensor, which is that guy right down there, because that's what displays the outside air temperature on the dashboard. And these are power mirrors. Now, the features that I am giving up is they don't have any reverse LEDs on here, and like the half-ton AT4s, they don't have any of the lights on the front. But I'm willing to live with those sacrifices, I think, just as long as I can see how this truck is going to look, in my opinion, which will be a whole lot sportier and a whole lot better when those big massive moose antlers that are bolted to the side right now. So the first thing I got to do to get them on is take the door panels off. So if you've never pulled a door panel off a 2019 Silverado 1500 or GMC 1500 or a 2020 2500, it's not too difficult, but I did have to look it up just to make sure I didn't break anything. Underneath this piece of trim that just kind of pops off, there are 2 screws. There's one screw underneath this little triangle piece of trim under the door latch, and then finally there are 2 screws on the very bottom of the door panel that are just exposed. There's no trim that covers them up. Then we can pop the door panel off, and then we need to pull the cable for the door latch, and then finally there's a big plug where it goes into the power window switch. Then we can completely remove the door panel from the vehicle, which allows us to gain access to the mirror mount, which kind of sits right up here in this area. Then we can swap out the mirrors. Overall, the conversion went fairly simple because for the most part, we're swapping factory parts for factory parts. So not a big deal, but there are a couple little gotchas that you want to look out for. Number one, when you're taking the door panel off, this guy right here is the cable that the door latch connects to. It's going to kind of look like that. Basically, you just squeeze down on that little thing to release the tab, and then the ball will slide out of its home. Pretty simple. Then you've got this big connector here. This kind of goes to the door switches. Again, there's just one of those little hinge down tabs. Now, inside the door where the mirror actually attaches, there's two plugs on the original mirror, and the second little one doesn't get used. I'm assuming that's for the things like the LED lights, maybe the power fold option that the new mirrors do not have, but I started it up and I checked for codes, and so far everything seems to be working properly, and the power adjust and the temperature are all working through this one main plug right there, which clicks right in. So from there, all we got to do is put the door panel back together. But there is one more thing that I noticed that you want to look out for when you're taking the door panel apart, because it happened on both sides. That's right down here. These two guys, these are the little keepers that hold the screws for where the door pull is, where you pull the door shut. Now on both sides this happened. The little clip, basically as soon as I took the screw out, it just fell down. So when I put the door panel on, there was no screw. So all I'm gonna do is come along in here and take some clear packing tape or something, kind of tape this clip up in place. That way it'll stay. Kind of the same thing over here too. That way we can have both screws holding the door pull on, so it's nice and solid when you go to shut the door. Now the other benefit to swapping out these mirrors is weight, because I think honestly these things weigh probably 20 pounds a piece or maybe a little bit more. They've got two motors in them, one of them down here for the power folding option, one of them in here somewhere for the power extend. I believe they come out, I don't know, another 6-8 inches or so when you get a trailer on the back, and not to mention all the electronics and the adjustable glass that's inside the mirror. But I am genuinely curious to see what you guys are going to think of the looks, so drop a comment below. Now I asked my wife and she said basically she hated the idea because there's no reason why a 3/4 ton truck should have a 1/2 ton mirror on it. But personally, I think the much smaller mirror has a way sporty look, and I'm just digging it. I really like how it looks, and the only thing I wish I could have done maybe differently is found a higher end like a Denali mirror, because I think they had some of that gray trim in there that kind of matches like on the AT4, this kind of silvery gray stuff. But other than that, I'm really digging the look, so the only thing left to do is get this truck outside and see how it looks in the daylight all cleaned up. So I've got to say, simply changing out the door mirrors for the smaller 1/2 ton parts completely transforms the look of the truck, and I couldn't be happier with how it's turned out. Now at first I was a little bit worried that I have a few check engine lights or something like that because of those two connectors that aren't plugged in for the LED lighting. Now the adjustment, or the power adjustment, still works, and the temperature reading up on the center stack display also still works, so I think we're going to be good to go in the long run. And the best part is, this whole thing only cost me about 250 bucks. Now I want to say thank you guys for watching this video, and if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys on the next upload.